Hey everybody, my name is Jake Labhart with In Extremis Performance. Today we're going to talk about strength and conditioning with law enforcement special operations units. So the thing we're going to start with is why is training important? And so in a study in 2015, it showed that most law enforcement agencies feel like it is important for their special operations units to be getting some extra physical fitness. However, I've worked with enough units that I understand that that's not always the case, but that's something that hopefully we can help you with doing at home or on the job. We know that for this job that you need our bodies adapt regardless to the specific demands we put on it. You guys perform at a high level, so that's the demands we need to put on it. If we don't, that increases the chance of injuries, and that's something we want to minimize as much as we can. Back in 2016, they said 2 law enforcement special operations units said, hey, what is physically performing? What's going to help you be the most successful? And then what do you actually do? They said power and strength was going to help them be most successful. However, in the training, they were doing cardiovascular endurance and muscular endurance. So we want to make sure in our programming that not only what y'all think is important, but also we have research showing that those things were actually correct in what they said to be most important. So when we look at just the overall though, for physical performance, why is it important? It's important to you because it impacts your attitude, it impacts the longevity time that you're on the team by decreasing injuries, allowing you to better be on the team longer, and then it increases your ability to be ready when that time comes to perform. So the other impact that it has, it may not be you, it may be on your buddy. So if he goes down and you can't drag him out of harm's way, that's a problem. So we need to make sure that you can meet all those tasks. And then we know legality reasons that stress impacts the mind. So physical stress is one of those forms of stress. It impacts your body and your mind. So a non-threat situation, we need to make sure that you're able to assess the situation. And one of the things we can do is by increasing your physical performance, when that stress comes into play, you have less of a problem when approaching that non-threat situation. So now that we've talked about the general impact of fitness, now we want to go ahead and look at, well, how do we get there? What's the optimum performance piece? So there is something called the optimal performance triangle. And so when we look at that, we have 3 different tiers in that triangle. So the base layer says, how well do you move? The second layer says, do you have the capacity now that you're able to move to be just a general athlete? And then we start adding in the specifics to make you better at your job. We know that's important because then we went and looked at research. So I did a study in 2015 and they ran what are the job tasks of law enforcement special operations units. When they looked at that, they broke down the sports performance piece and looked at the characteristics. So the most commonly used amongst what research said were the most common tasks, they found that agility was most important or most used. Agility, muscular endurance was second, anaerobic power was third, muscular strength was fourth, and aerobic power was fifth. So when we look at those, we need to make sure that those are in our performance, in our programming, to make sure that we're reaching that optimum level of performance for the special operations units. All right, so now that we've talked about general performance and the characteristics of law enforcement special operations, we're going to talk about, well, how do they differ from a football player or a soccer player? So one of the big differences, obviously, football has an in-season and an off-season. All of you are all the time, all season, if you will. So we want to make sure that that uncertainty and consistent nature of heightened level of stress that impacts the body and the mind, we have to train to that same level of intensity. Now, the key with that to not overtrain and be injured is a specificity in our training. So that's where the importance of everyone building their programs in a fashion that has an opportunity to be able to progress and regress based off op tempo. And because that maximum level is impacted by a lot of different factors: age, genetics, history of injury, history of training. So we want to make sure that we're up to that heightened level, but we have the direct feedback with the operator to make sure that the training is going where it needs to go to stay at that heightened level. All right, so now that we've talked about the difference between athletes and law enforcement special operations and how needing to maintain that high level of performance and training, we're going to talk about how do we get there. We talked about those other characteristics, and we want to make sure that all of them are going up: speed, power, agility, muscular endurance, etc. Sometimes when we train, some go down, some go up. Well, if you do that for too long and you get away from the specificity of what you need to do as an operator, you then have to go do that job, you increase chance for injury. So we want to make sure that we're constantly going upwards. And so when we do that, we look at a specific guidelines to where our program is built in a way we're not having to add random stimulus just to add it, but we can progress and regress to be able to maintain that level of high performance. You add that with recovery, warm up, and that's how we are able to adapt to that high level of stress without having overtraining or injury. All of that supports us when we go to game time. All right, so now that we've talked about the specifics in training in building a program for law enforcement special operations units, I'm gonna wind this video up. We've got 2 more videos to come, one with the specifics and different styles of approach, and then last we're gonna give you a program. Again, my name is Jake Labhart with In Extremis Performance. We specifically program for federal, state, and local special operations units. Right now we're building a lot of programs. Some guys are still full go in a gym, some are at home. Regardless, we can help you with that. We wanted to put this together to make it functional and allow you to be able to do that and provide information that's important for the success of all of you. Again, with myself and the different programmers, me personally, I'm an infantry veteran and I currently hold a doctorate in physical therapy. So we have a very unique approach to injury prevention, while a lot of my programmers and strength coaches have over 10 years in collegiate football, and then we together have over 5 years in U.S. Army Special Operations Command, whether it be in physical therapy or strength and conditioning. And we've worked with a lot of different agencies at the federal, state, local level, as I mentioned. Hopefully you enjoyed this video.